Whether you are looking to build a new career or kickstart that new idea that you've got,
Microsoft Reactor connects you with the developers and startups that share your goals.
Learn new skills, meet new peers, and discover the latest in technology.
Events are running around the clock, so join us anytime, anywhere.
Reactors are communities to connect. We want you to meet real developers and entrepreneurs just like you. Here you can get skilled up and learn from our product experts in the Microsoft Cloud and in open source. So watch us on demand and share your own perspective as we live stream in communities all around the world.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin today's session, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Rajendra, our speaker for today's session. Rajendra is currently working as a BI lead specialist within the engineering and tech lead team at Bosch. But for now, I will hand over to Rajendra to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream. There you go. Over to you, Rajendra.
Hi, Rashmita. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Let me know once you're able to see my presentation too. I'm ready with this.
Yeah, your presentation is also up,
you're
Rajendra.
able to see my presentation. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Microsoft Reactor team, for continuous upskilling on latest training technologies. And thanks for the opportunity as well. And today's topic is around, it's a regular topic, like a deployment pipelines with Power BI, but I will explain you in an easy way with different approaches, like by using file source systems as well as database source systems too, how this deployment pipeline will be get synced from one to another. Before moving on to this topic, I'd just like to give a brief about myself and then agenda follows. I'm Rajendra Ongole. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP and a super user at Microsoft Fabric community, and 14 years of experience with Microsoft Tech Stack, started with SSIS to Power BI and currently Microsoft Fabric too. And I'm a BI lead at Bosch and one of the organizers at Delhi Tech Community and Data Analytic Group. And if you want to reach out to me, on the right hand side, you can see my social networking site. You can catch up me there and you can ask me your queries or doubts if you have something to get in check with me. Thank you for that. And coming to this agenda, as I said, it's very simple, related to the Power BI activities, what we will do on day-to-day basis. Though this particular data pipeline has been general available May 2020 onwards, though I just try to showcase to you the simplest approaches. So what are data pipelines? What are the key benefits of using data pipelines? Once we can get started with data pipelines, who are going to use this data pipeline? What kind of a licenses to? That one also we will discuss it. It is not for a pro licensing part or premium per user also. As of now, it's not there. We are going to work with the Microsoft Fabric trial related license too. And key components that has been involved in the deployment pipeline and the best practices. So what are the best practices to effective or seamlessly utilization of deployment pipeline, and also followed up with a step-by-step guide. As I said, I'm going to showcase to you the two different approaches via file source systems, how this deployment pipeline in Power BI is going to work, and also via databases like SQL Server wise, how this deployment pipeline will be get a trigger from one environment to the another. So as I mentioned, right, data connections and permissions is mandatory, which we are going to showcase. I'm going to showcase to you how and where we are going to configure those data source systems on each and every pipelines as well. Fine. As I mentioned, in the left-hand side, if you're observing, it's a staging layer. We can call it as a deployment pipeline. So as we have to follow the traditional SDLC pipeline, like development environment, testing, production, we can try to set it configure within Power BI services itself, cloud-based application itself. So we can manage all the assets like reports, data sets, even currently the Microsoft Fabric with a lot of personas like a lake houses, data flows, and even the multiple differentiation of the cycles and notebooks we can configure via data pipelines. So as I mentioned, there is an additional final approval or UAT part. So we can try to configure, or we can also create those stages while creating the deployment pipeline, like a development stage where for the development related activities and the testing environment. Maybe I want to give an access to the test user and they can try to test the report which we have already completed from development to the test after moving, and they can catch a back or else revert back if there is any need to improve changes too. And finally, we will try to create a production kind of an environment for the larger group of an audience. So we can share this report analysis and we can further also create an app level buildings and so on via production environment too for the larger group of audience. So each and every level, if you want to get it row level secured, or else maybe if you want to configure with the level of security or accessing part, we can get it configure at each and every workspaces. So if I mention here, we can follow a syncing approach, but each and every workspace is an individual. Like a development workspace is a separate, a testing workspace is a separate workspace, and the production workspace is also a separate workspace, where all together it will be get synced up almost. Whoever familiar with the CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous delivery or deployment, it's almost similar and functionality which we can try to incorporate and make use of in the Power BI services. Once we can start working on this deployment pipelines too. So I just coming up with the directly to the what is the benefit if you can start using of this Power BI deployment pipelines. So most of the time we can reduce the manual errors and trying to upload or else promote these reports onto the cloud-based environment. And risk mitigation, if you're observing the separate environments, it will try to produce an effective or else a right productive stability. So where we can try to move from one to another. And also we can try to compare one environment to the another environment. What are the new changes has been updated? So where there is an option name called compare option is there. We can try to check whether the source to the, I mean, like from development to the testing environment or testing to the production, is there any changes? So we can continuously and thoroughly cross verify if there is any changes module has been happened between one to another environment. And the last part is data integrity and assurance. So we are going to maintain a systematic data sources for each and every individual environment, and we have to get it configure each environment with their data sources. Suppose maybe if you're trying to connect a databases from the production related environment, if you're creating some parameters, is as simple as easy to define the rules while creating the deployment pipelines too. So there are configurations like a data rules we can configure, or parameter rules once we can once we can start making use of deployment pipeline. And the key components, if you're observing, it's going to establish as a set individual dedicated workspaces for each and every, like maybe the development team, they want to check it and they want to publish it into the development. We can create it as a separate, it will be get created in the form of a development stuff. And maybe I want to give or provide an access to the testing based RL testing team. We can try to provide an QA related part, a testing group of users. They can try to test our report based on the quality. Data quality, they can, if they find out some abrupt or else abnormal results, they can just fire back or else send back to the reports to the development team. And a robot testing protocol, as I mentioned here, we can try to test it all the levels. So as of now, we can configure as per the SDLC process, like a development, testing, and a production environment. Maybe there is a pre-production environment or a system integration testing related environment where we can try to integrate with some other tools or something. We can also make use of these deployment layers, which has been available in Power BI, like multiple stages we can get it created within the one single pipeline. So as I said, this has been introduced in 2020. So most of the team, they're confused why the data is not reflected. So if you're observing the best practices, whenever you deployed a development environment with a report, just try to configure the source system first, the semantic model. What are the source you have configured from the development to the testing? And testing, we have to thoroughly cross-verify whether the data set has been configured or not. So if you are not configured and directly moving from development environment to the testing, you will not going to see any result on the testing environment on your reporting layer. You can see the blank or else some not configured information too. Let me showcase to you in the practical way so that it will be helpful as well. So we have to thoroughly prepare and organize one level to the another level so that it is as simple as easy to migrate from one environment to the another environment. Like most of the times we'll try to create these three only. Once the testing environment is ready, once it has been configured, then as simple as easy to deploy our semantic model, whatever the personas or tools that are going to available in each and every workspace, we can deploy to the production workspace for the larger audience, or else sharing the report analysis to the global users. So as I mentioned, rules wise, we can configure manage rules for each and every level of workspaces, either it is a development or testing, or some people, I mean, like some people, as I said, some group of projects we can create multiple stages too. We can configure each and every layer with a manage permissions and provide an access to the individual or group of users to test our report, which are available in the dedicated or available workspaces. That's what I just mentioned here. Each and every snapshot like a development to the test, and the sync will be between the test to the development first. After that test environment to the production, you have to sync up the changes or latest changes which has been incorporated, and we will move on to the production environment too. Step-by-step guidelines, if you're observing, first you want to get it access the deployment pipeline. As I mentioned, it is not for a pro licensing part. It is going to work for the premium license, or it is going to work for the Fabric trial accounts too. Maybe if you want to test it, or else maybe you already moved onto the Fabric related environment, we can test it via Fabric environment as well. And most of the time, as I mentioned, we will try to create three set of stages, like a development stage, testing stage, and production stages. In between, if you want to configure with middle stages like SIT or user acceptance test stages, we can create it also. So between one stage or one individual workspace to another individual workspace, we can move our whatever the data sets or semantic model which has been configured along with the reports, we can move it from one environment to the another environment. And the workspace assignment or securities assignments, how we are going to deploy it or else configure. So we have an option name called manage access. From there, we are going to get it configure who are going to view our testing workspaces. That particular access, we have to get it controlled via workspace management or workspace assignment. So workspace settings option is there, or workspace access option is there. We can configure the each and every stage layer, and we can provide an access to those users to test and give, if there is any changes, give it back to the development part. So there is an option like clear stage definition. Like once we can start creating this deployment pipeline, we can add these stages. So I have intermediately, by default, it will be get created with 3 stages only, like a development, test, production environment. Maybe if you want to add any one stage, final approval or pre-approved related, the report before moving on to the production, we can add that particular stage also. And we can also move from up and down, like a sorting order also it is possible to configure with. First, it has to be go to the development to the testing to the pre-approval or pre-production, and next to the next level of production environment for the larger audience. We can completely, it has been sorting, and we can do this proper sorting as well once we can start creating those stages too. As I mentioned, it's going to have a complete securities at each and every level. Either you can take it as a development. Maybe I'm not going to follow the complete SDLC lifecycle. I have to restrict as per the premium capacity of my production workspace. I have to get it created with one development deployment pipeline to directly another workspace with the production premium capacity workspace. In such kind of a scenario, we can get it configured the systematic way to give an access to the end user or provide a security control from the development to the testing. And also we have an feasibility to publish that particular report as an app as well. So by default, if you want to get it published from one environment, that is example production to the development to the production, by default this publish as an app option is enabled. Maybe if you don't want to uh, configure that publish as an app, we can say we can remove that, we can disable that functionality, and based on the roles or accessing path, we can give an access or authorization control to each and every workspaces. As I mentioned, in our current scenario, in this particular data connections and permissions wise, it is individually we need to configure at each workspaces level, not for complete flow or complete pipeline. We have to get it navigate to that workspace, and we have to get it configure each workspace testing with the semantic model. Maybe my testing environment, I had to get it configured with the testing workspace, means we have to get it configured with the testing workspace, so that our report, whatever the report we have published, it will be get visible to you on that workspaces. It's not something like once we moved from one development to the testing and testing to the production, reports will be not automatically visible to you, or directly it will not take your permission, data source connections of your semantic model. We have to get it configure via two set of options, that is data set of rules, and another one is parameter. Maybe if you have configured with the parameter configurations, we have to get it configured with this, so that once it has been segregated, we can start giving the role-based access to the data sensitivity part. It has been implemented. Maybe if the report has been implemented with RLS, role-based access, and even if you want to give an access based on rules, we can configure on individual workspaces and content basis too. Streamlining the data development pipeline. If you're observing each and every workspace for the development, we can try to set it up the set of group of users, and testing workspace with some testing department. Maybe I want to test that particular report, we have to configure the testing users, and the production workspace for the larger audience or group of people who are going to view the report. We can try to configure the particular workspaces too. It's a complete roles we can get it configured, and each and every workspaces have to get it created, and once we can define that workspaces, we can add the users too for the development, testing, and production related workspaces too. And I just added the DTAP layer, which it is almost similar to the how we are going to build the pipelines from one environment to another environment, from the development to the test, and test to the production environment. Development, test, approach, production. And even this particular currently, which in our session, right, which we are going to showcase to you the deployment pipeline via Power BI, we can also integrate with Azure DevOps too. So maybe we can try to see the changes whenever you can create in workspaces. We have an Azure DevOps configuration, so we can configure it. Maybe if you want to dedicatedly follow with a CI/CD pipeline via Azure DevOps, by using the PBIP Power BI project files, we can get it configured via, that means version control, all the files, all the compressed files will be get visible to you in the Azure DevOps locations too. We can track it, all the changes, whatever the new changes and all. But here in Power BI, which I'm going to showcase to you, the each and every module or else a semantic model or report, if there is any changes, we are doing on the same environment, which is in the Power BI web portal itself. So that part I'm going to showcase to you how it is going to work, and before moving on to the future training and technologies. Hope you are able to see my Power BI services environment. So see here, if you're observing on the screen, I have already created a set of works, development, testing, and production. It looks in this way. You can see the options like a sync, tick mark, green tick mark. Suppose if there is any changes from the development to the testing, it should be asked as like a compare option too. So I will showcase to the thorough hands-on, which we are going to helpful to you too. So you can see here, maybe you haven't published new changes, so you can see the complete tick mark as well. So assume that you can see the each and every stages or personas. These are all the different personas which are available on each and every stages, like from the development to the testing, testing to the production. So currently I'm using the older deployment pipeline, and if you're just try to configure the new deployment pipeline, it looks in this way. So maybe currently where is my source systems and all, this is the new source, new way of deployment pipeline. So maybe if you can try to select here, here you can observe here what are the files are, also what are the semantic models, whatever the other personas, like example, as I said, data flows, it will be get we can configure, or maybe the notebooks, if you want to get it configured, everything will be get visible to you at the down part. So here, so everything has been get configured. Let me showcase to you the thorough process from end to end, how we are going to get it configured. First of all, as I said, we need to have a Power BI Premium per user license or Fabric trial account, not with the Pro license. We are not going to start working with the Pro licensing part. So we need a dedicated license to work on this deployment pipeline as well. Let me showcase to you one example how it is going to get created. Let me create a new workspace. As I said, I'm using Fabric trial account, trial license. Let me configure it. Trial license. And here, if you're observing the first approach, which I said it has an file source system, how we are going to get it configured. It's a simple report, financial report, which you are currently observing. Like I have built a report with some important metrics and profit by country and some table information. So what I did in sense, in the transformations part, I have created a parameter first. You can see here, created a file parameter. So with just a configurations like this path, files are available in this location. I'm going to publish this particular current report, financial report into this created environment, which I just created, deployment demo, this one. You can see deployment demo. Let me publish it. Let me publish it. And if you have any queries, please post it. I can take your queries too. Maybe if you're parallelly working on it, let me know. See here, try to search for your workspace. I just create a deployment demo, publish it. So automatically, when you can start working on Power BI reports, both your semantic model as well as report should be visible to you on that particular workspace, which I have just to create it. Once it is done, you can see here. I'm just trying to refresh. See here, it's visible to you, financial report, and which is one data set as well as financial report. I will showcase you common mistakes, what we will do it once, if you can start utilizing this deployment pipeline as well, so that it will be very helpful to you. Maybe once currently it has been get configured with the dedicated semantic model, so I can open my report in a free, like I can see the visuals and metrics, whatever I have developed in Power BI report too. You can see the numbers and all information here. So it is directly connecting to a semantic model part, semantic, which I have showcased to you. That's fine. So how this will be get created, this deployment pipeline. So once the workspace get created, we can start creating the deployment pipeline by using this option, create deployment pipeline at the top of this page here, right hand side. Or maybe if you want to get start this deployment pipeline, you can see 3 horizontal ellipse buttons, right? More options. From here also we can get it started, and you have to get it configured this workspace, deployment demo workspace. So I will showcase to you the direct approach, simple approach, which I just created the workspace now. Create deployment pipeline. Once we can start creating the deployment pipeline, we have to give a proper naming convention. Let me give some naming convention here. Deployment demo. Same only, because I just want to maintain the consistency between one environment to another. Deployment demo. Next, optional is, description is even optional. This is the view once you can start creating the deployment pipeline, like development stage. This is generic, right? Development, testing, and production. Maybe if you want to create some additional stages, we can add by using this plus button, so that we can add in between our intermediate stages too, for each and every environment if required, as per the business process flow, as per the project which you are going to work, like pre-production or sit environments and so on. Maybe if some integrations are required. Fine, I'm going with this as SDLC flow, development, testing, and production. I have navigated and working on the new deployment pipeline approach. Let's try to create and continue. We have an option there. So you can see here, new deployment pipeline already turned on. And once deployment pipeline has been enabled, you can see development, testing, and production workspaces. So here we have to configure or assign the workspace, which workspace you want to get it configure. So these many workspaces are there. So you have to configure the right workspace, which you want to move or else follow the SDLC lifecycle. So I'm using deployment demo. This is the one which we created. Connect to this. And let me enable this one also. So here three dots option is there, maybe stage setup, maybe directly. If you want to set this development as a public environment, we can turn it on, just like a complete public view, or we can also publish as an app as well by using this development. But by default, it is turned off. Let me showcase you one more thing. If you're observing production environment stage setup, this is by default enabled, because production anyway, it is for larger audience. Once we publish this report under the production with right data, after all the testing and development stuff, it is by default enabled. This is just for your reference. And coming to the center environment testing part, we have to get it configured, or we just try to select the workspaces to validate it. Or from here, if you're observing, deploy from where to where. So we can get it configured from here to. Let me showcase you this approach while publishing or else while moving from testing environment. Currently, if you're observing this deploy demo is only one workspace. If you're observing here, right hand side, I haven't saved it, deploy demo only. Once we have saved it, we can see three different environments. One is development, testing, and production environment. Let's try to publish it first. Let's try to configure it. So see here, just to configure the workspace name, but I have to publish both of my report as well as semantic model. Thus we have to select it. Select it. 1 second. Give me a minute or skip it. I mean, I'm just trying to, because I'm still get too familiar with the new deployment pipeline. Let me showcase it with this old deployment pipeline itself. Deploy demo. Where is it? Okay. Move it, these two, to the production as well. I'm just trying to deploy from one environment to the another. Whenever if you're trying to move from one stage to the another stage, you can also add a note. What are the new changes, or else after the testing it is ready, these changes we can add it as a note. First deployment something, so that we can track everything, whatever the further deployments, we can also track the history of this deployment pipelines too. First deployment to production. Deploy it. So see here, once you get it deployed from one environment to the another, automatically in the workspaces part, as I said, all these workspaces will be get created: development workspace, testing, and production. So as per the data set which you are using, that much time it's going to take. You can see the tick mark as well, as I said. Let me refresh it. You can see here deployment production is, as I said, deployment pipeline, deployment production. Directly it has been, where is testing? Give me a minute, 1 second. So I have used this process. Give me a second. Showcase two approaches, one with the files which I just published it, and another one is the database wise. Database, I have already prepared it. Let me showcase that part too. I mean, these many workspaces, that's fine. But yeah, here I need to assign it. Select it, just try to deploy it to the testing environment. So from development to the testing environment is missing. I'm just trying to create a dedicated environment for the testing by using this version, deploy it. You can see a tick mark, I mean, cross mark that is not, I mean, from one to the another, the files has not moved just to create the workspace, but files has not moved. That's the meaning there. And whatever the process flow from one environment to the another environment, if you want to cross verify the history, as I said, by using this deployment history, we can observe it. And individual user base or individual workspace base, if you want to cross verify or else give an access, as I mentioned, we have a manage access. We can provide an individual, each and every workspace wise an access to. So here, if you're observing a small kind of a trigger, kind of a rules, so deployment rules, we can get it configure. So currently, as I said, I'm using the latest pipeline wise, and even the older version also we can see an option, a small blanket like this, a cracker like this. So we can use this to get it configure what type of a source control, like how we are going to configure the data source system. These settings will be get enabled by using this deployment rule. Let me showcase to you this. Because the development is already configured, I have opened my report. But if you can start open this report into the directly in the testing environment, let me showcase you that. I mean, what we will do it on regular basis. Let me showcase you that. Even just the production environment too. If you can start opening this production related report, you can see the complete blank information because we haven't configured the data sets for the individual workspaces, for the production testing these workspaces. We have to configure it first, refresh it, and then we can view the data, whatever the latest information that is available on each and every workspaces. Let me showcase to you that again, going back to the deployment pipeline. Please observe here. And let me navigate to the testing demo here. Rename it as an testing, maybe this particular workspace for our references part. Deployment demo space testing. So that it is easy for us to identify which workspace it is. So let me check others too. Deployment demo. Just try to cross verify. Development is there, production, testing. Fine. So we just move to the testing environment. Let's try to see the report. Still, this is also going to be an visual numbers. So automatically the parameters has been configured. Let me showcase you that where I have configured it. Here, deployment pipeline. Try to select this. And here the semantic model, financial semantic model selected. So as I said, two ways we can configure these deployment rules. One is data source rules. We can provide the rules here. So what is the source path, and we can try to trigger that particular source connections to the destination if you have a separate parameters. So if you're observing, let's try to add the rules. See here, this is the path. Maybe I haven't created any parameter, dynamic parameter. I want to configure with the dedicated link or else a drive link. So in such scenario, we can use others and we can get it configured with these rules. But here in our current scenario, financial report, I have created a dedicated parameters here. If you're observing, this is the one with the parameter path link. So in my Power BI desktop file, this is the path link parameter wise. I have configured, I have extracted this data. So let me showcase to you that another way of defining these semantic rules by using parameter rules. See here, add rules, just try to configure the file path. And here, instead of directly taking the existing development link, I have my testing environment to testing environment link or else a file. In such scenario, you are going to use others. So this is the commonly we will ignore it, but these things we have to get it configured from where to where the file has to be get configured. So you have to configure with the others. And here, this one currently the development stuff, financial sample is the development. Let's try to configure. I have a production testing file also. Let's try to configure this file with some data, partial data. XLS file. Save it. Once you save, you have to cross check that data refresh also here itself. Save it. Save this one. I just configured the testing environment. Let me navigate back here and try to get it configure data source here. Settings. So for this, I'm currently using on-premises personal gateway. You can see here data source credentials. We have to enable it. Sign in. And directly navigate to the gateway connections. Manage gateway. Try to configure here. That is test environment, right? This is the file. Configure it and make it as an online. So currently, as I said, I'm using a personal gateway. If you are using in standard gateway, we can configure with one time itself. Not for individual workspaces wise, we don't need to configure in that way. We can configure it one time itself. So let's try to navigate back to the testing environment, refresh. So make sure that your gateway should be online, up and running. So once it will be get refreshed, we can see the data too. And if you have any questions, please post it and let me know. This is the first scenario which I'm showcasing to you via files, that is parameter configurations. Yeah.
Rajendra, one question. I'll just get that up on the screen.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, the deployment pipelines are not available for Power BI Pro license, right?
Correct. Yes. This is for, as I said, premium per user. Maybe that is also going to downgrade, because most of the works activities we are going to do it to the fabric only. So deployment pipelines are not available for the pro users, pro licensing part. It is available for premium per user, or fabric. Still, if you are using your organization using fabric accounts. Yes. Hope I have answered to you. And if you're observing, my dataset has been refreshed. Let me navigate and check the refresh history too, because just cross verification if there is any failure or something. And here, before opening the report, just try to refresh your browser. So this is what I have observed. Without refreshing, directly opening my report, it is taking some time, right, to reflect your changes onto the report level. So it will not reflect immediately. Just try to check and open your report so that the values will be get reflected. Let's see, like this. This is the testing environment connection. The dataset is currently connected to the testing environment, and you can see the result as is. Like that, let me showcase to you the production environment, and then I will configure the production related dataset settings as well. Let me showcase to you that. Closing this. Navigate from here itself, because once you created a deployment pipeline, you can navigate it from the deployment pipeline. So navigate it to the deployment demo production environment. Let me showcase you here. Financial report completely blank. You cannot see any result because we haven't configured the data set. We have to get it configured to the, particular source connection. As I mentioned, the production means production and testing means testing. Once it has been configured and synced together, then we can see the results as well. So let me use this production data set. First, we have to get it configured with the source system. As I said, I'm using currently the personal gateway because it's a file source system, right? Edit. After that, don't forget, it is important to cross verify your gateway is offline or online. So cross check your gateway configurations too. So manage gateway and production and refresh it. It's online now. Let me refresh my data set now. This is the one. Maybe you want me to showcase how to get it configure this that particular gateway means that part also I'm going to showcase. Just give me a minute. Yes, it's completed. Let me cross check the refresh history. It's complete, a small data set only. Let me open this report now. Still, as I said, right, immediately if you can open this report, you can see a blank only. Let me refresh. This is what just I have observed it. We can see the results now, right? Like this. So instantly don't open it. It will take some time, back in time, to get it configured to your data set, and it will be get reflected the values too. Try to refresh it and observe the analysis or else a report, whatever you have built it. Okay, so currently this particular report, which has been configured with the production environment, and the previous one, if you're observing, maybe if you want to share this report analysis to the testing team, we are going to give an access. This is an individual workspace. Individual workspace wise, we can provide an access to those testers, and they can check your report and they can validate it, and everything is good. We can also move it from one environment to the another environment by using this deployment pipelines. Okay, so maybe last I'll just try to showcase to you how we are going to publish as an app. Let me showcase you that process. See here, how can we identify whatever the new changes has been popped up or else. So we can compare it by using this option. So we can compare it, what is the new changes. So we'll just try to move from, instead of moving all together, whatever the reports or data sets, other reports and so on, just try to select it or use a select related option, move it from one environment to the another environment. So currently I have found out some differences between financial report. I want to move from development to the testing. We can deploy it. So deploy with some note, few changes on data set. This is for tracker. Once we get moved, we can see a blue green tick mark between these two. And this one also we have to get it moved from testing to the production. So let's try to move it, only the data set. We can just try to compare it before moving, what are the changes. And still, you want to thoroughly review the changes. As I said, we have a deployment history. We can observe the thorough changes, who done and whatever the, is there any note has been provided, every information here. We can track it. We can track here. Let me move this data set also from testing environment to the production. Latest update, data semantic model. Deploy it. So as per your comfortability, either you can try to work with the new deployment pipeline, the new changes, or this is the older one, which has been long back, has been there. This deployment pipeline, you can also use it, and only the functionality is the UI phase. UI is changed, and all the other functionalities are same. That's what I have observed. Let me navigate it here. This is my production environment. We can easily open my report and we can view the results too. Likewise, as I said, I'm going to showcase to you the process of configuring from databases. So here I have already prepared a report name called sales analysis. This is ready at my end. So what I did in the sense, this one also has been get it configured with the data sources. If you're observing, connecting to the on-premises SQL database with the param wise. This is my source system. For each and every table, it has been get connected. So what I will do in the sense, currently assume that this is a development stage. You can see the number. Let me open my Power BI file. Let me close these things. Let me open my Power BI file. These are the numbers which you are currently observing, like a total orders, total quantity, and so on. Assume that this is my development environment. So my report is ready. So I want to publish this report under the cloud environment, and then I have to build a pipeline to sync from one to another. How we are going to do it? Let me showcase you the process again. Please observe here for the databases like on-premises SQL Server. Let me publish into the same workspace. Save it. Save it. Deploy demo is my workspace. We are going to publish this report also into this workspace. Publish it. Search for here. Development. Currently we can see these are the reports, semantic model and financial. Publish it. It will take some time. Let's try to refresh in the meantime. Our workspace, deployment demo, development workspace. please post if you have any queries. I hope I'm trying to make this concept very easy and understandable. If still any questions, please unmute yourself. You can ask your questions too.
Rajendra, there's one question. I will just get that
Yes,
up on screen.
sure.
Semantic model and data flows also be deployed.
Yes, we can. Yes, deployment pipeline currently data flows is also working. I'll just showcase to you later. So see here, please observe. We have an configurations like data flows as well. See this. This is the current deployment pipeline, right? See this. Data flows are there. All the personas has been integrated. Even the real event house, event streamings are there. Environments, notebooks, as I said, right? All the things has been get it configured. So we want to configure and make use of this deployment pipeline, so we can use it. So previously, some maybe months or else some months back, year back, we can see only one option, that is semantic model, that is Power BI. But currently, all this personas, it has been integrated. We can deploy whatever activities we are trying to perform as per the Power BI prospect. Hope I have answered to your query.
We have a next question.
Yes.
The question is, if in the solution have two origin source, one for production and
Hmm.
the other for test, how to put
Hmm.
the parameter connections?
But as I said, right, data source rules are there. We have to configure the data source rules. Currently, right, if you're observing, what I did, I have published one of the new report into the development environment name called Sales Analysis L2. Currently, I can open my report. You can see the numbers and everything, which has been configured with my assume that development environment data source credentials. So this is my development environment data source credentials. I can able to open my report. Suppose if you want to get it configured with the testing and production, and we have an option name called deployment rules. Like either if you have already a parameter, you can create it via parameter rules, or if you have a direct data source credentials, we can configure with the data source rules as well. So let me showcase to you that too. Yes, I hope I have answered to you. Clear? Fine. I just open my report in the development. Let me move this to sales analysis L2 also to the testing environment and production environment. Let me navigate back to the deployment pipeline and open here deployment pipeline. Please focus here. There are some new changes which has been identified by this environment to the testing environment. That is nothing but, if you can compare it, you can see in new files too. Like you see here, news, sales analysis L2 semantic model, and L2, that is report. Let's try to publish these two alone instead of selecting everything. Let me publish these two alone to my development to the testing environment. Deploy it. Let's try to move and give a name as sales report testing ready. Deploy it. It will take some time as per the bandwidth and network speed while deploying from one to another. Okay. Any other, please, in the meantime? Hope you are good. So what I did in the sense, if you're observing, I have opened my SSMS as well with production environment dataset and development or testing and development also I have opened it. What I will do in the sense, the testing part, I'm going to remove some records to see the numbers difference. Currently, if you're observing the dataset with 73,588 records, after getting configure from the testing to the production environment, you can see the total orders count difference as well. Okay. Okay, fine. It's moved. Those two dataset as well as report is moved to the testing environment. So see here, as I said, if you want to get it configure the parameters or else a data source connection, here we can use it. At the top, we can see arrow button, right? At the top, rules button. Select it, deployment rules. So currently I want to get it configured the sales analysis, SL2, data source rules. So we have to configure this one. Connect it. provide the server details, provide maybe others. So you can see database, and this is my server details, save it. So this is the process we have to get it save. And one more thing, before configuring the deployment pipeline rules, just to navigate and test whether you are able to see the results or data in the testing environment. Suppose if you can try to open my report, sales analysis L2, you can see a blank only because I haven't configured anything, that data set. I haven't configured anything from development to the testing. So you have to get it configured first here on this particular workspace level part. Settings, I'm using gateway. I have created a proper gateway for the testing too. I'm making sure that it's going to connect to the gateway of testing gateway, fabric test, apply it. And here, try to cross-check the data source credential. It has been configured or granted with the access or not. Okay, if not, you have to check again the connection and get it configured. The data source system, you have to get it configured from via gateways. Now, what I will do, I'll just navigate back to the testing workspace. Okay, because still the report is blank, it's not visible to me. Let's try to refresh here, refresh it, your data set. It will take some time. And try to open after refreshing completes. You just try to open the report and see the result, whether there is any change or not. That's the process. I mean, we are going to miss once the deployment we haven't configured. That's the common mistakes. So we have to cross-verify the data sets and the gateway connection if you are using on-premises. Once it has been thoroughly configured, we can navigate to this workspace and test your report, whether it has been redirecting and pointing to the right environment, right data sources or not. It's completed. Let me check the history. It's completed. You can see here. Let's try to open it and refresh it. I forgot to refresh. Refresh it. You can see the results now, values now in this testing environment like this. See here. Difference is, so from development environment, I can see 73,588. Coming to the testing environment, 72,595 is the values. Let's try to deploy the same report to the quality or testing to the production environment as well. Please observe here. I'm navigating to the deployment pipeline. You can see the syncing and trying to compare from one environment to the another environment. So I moved my sales analysis L2 report from development to the testing along with the report and data set semantic model. Let's try to move the same to the production environment too. So see here, I'm selecting exclusively that particular report as well as semantic model. Let's try to deploy this too. So ready to share to global audience. Deploy it. After this, what we have to do, once we deployed it, what we have to do, just navigate directly to the workspace, deployment demo workspace, that is an individual workspace. Cross verify your dataset configurations. Just try to cross check your dataset configuration, semantic model configurations, that means source systems, and try to refresh it there and just try to make use of this deployment pipeline. So here, what we have to get it configure, this part. So as I said, it's over. You can see the tick marks there. Tick marks there. So here, this one we have just tried to cross check. Okay, so financial samples, financial analysis. Just try to cross-verify what kind of a rules we have to define. Suppose if there is any parameters, we have defined it. Use the parameter rules. If you have defined the data source rules, you have to use the data set rules, data source rules. So let me first navigate to the production environment. And if you can see here, this is my report. Open it. It's going to be a blank because I haven't configured anything. Let's try to navigate back to that workspace, production workspace, deploy by demo production workspace. Try to configure your source settings, data source settings. And for this, I'm using currently the production, fabric production is my source system, data source system. Configure it, apply. This is the mistakes, like we have to get it configured properly so that we can see the values and so on. If not, you are going to see the blank only. Just try to cross check this part also. Data source credentials has been get configure. Let's try to refresh one time. Refresh it. Sales analysis L2, just try to refresh it. And whenever, suppose you are done some activity here, like maybe you changed the visualizations, maybe I'm just trying to remove lines, total customers. I'm just trying to add these numbers, and I can try to publish this report onto the development. You have to do these changes also to the testing and production. You have to sync it up. So assume that there is some development activity I have performed in the development stuff. I'm going to publish this report now to this environment. Select it, publish it, replace. And before that, I'm just trying to complete it. Still going on. Okay. Complete it. Let's try to cross check history. It's completed. Try to open your report in the production environment, sales analysis L2. Refresh it. Sorry. You can see the result instantly. As per the data that is available in the production environment, you can observe the insights, the numbers. You can see here if there is any changes. So currently, right? Currently what I did, I just published one of the report after some development activity. Assume that you developed something, you just done some activity changes, you published it. Now, if you can see here in this deployment pipeline, it's still executing. You can see some differences between development environment to the testing environment. It's kind of yellow. That means some changes are there. Though it has been successfully deployed from development to the testing, some changes are there. So let's try to move those changes too. So here, I mean, adjust it. Select your testing environment, what you want to move. You have to select it first on the new deployment pipelines part, and then you can move it. Okay. So these are the two I want to move, but basically the changes is happening on report level. You can see here. You can see the comparison part. You can see the differences between the source to the testing environment, only the report only. So in such scenario, you can just try to move the report instead of semantic model, move it. So from development to deploy, changes in report only to the testing environment. Few minutes, and then I will take if you have still any queries or concerns. See here, it's just moved, and you can see the tick mark, that is the green tick mark, successfully deployed. From testing to the production, the changes I haven't published yet, the new changes of my report, but I just want to cross verify my testing environment changes, whether it is reflecting or not. I can navigate to my workspace and I can try to open my report. You can see I just removed the line. Hope you remember the line chart has been removed from my development here. That means total number of customers. So in such a way, we can try to track down the changes in a sync manner from one environment to the another environment. While whenever you can start building these deployment pipelines, not a data pipeline, it's a deployment pipeline. Let's try to sync up between this testing to the production as well. Let me move the changes. You can see the differences there. Move it. From testing to production environment, I'm just trying to move. So this is the new deployment pipeline options. So you can also use the select related tables, and you can observe the deployment history at the top or else here. And coming to the manage accessing part, here we can add the users list. Maybe if you want to, for this production, a larger audience, I want to add it in the sense that the groups, we can add it in the sense we can add the user groups also too. Here, let me deploy it first. Share report. Global audience. And just try to cross verify the results that are reflecting as is from test to the development production environment. Navigate to the workspace, check the results too. Okay. This is the end-to-end process, seamless deployment it is. So where we can try to track down the changes from one environment to the another environment, and also we can try to configure the roles for each and every environment from testing or production environment. Either you want to share it to global groups or audience prospect, I'm saying, or maybe if you want to test it internally and you want to share these results or also feedback informations to the development team, we can make use of this deployment pipeline. So I hope you like the session and I'm ready to take your queries. Yeah, this is the approach. Yeah. And going forward, what currently I'm doing in the sense, I'm currently using the Azure DevOps wise CI/CD pipeline, so which will be more see all that information like a dataset level, even the very minute level of the PBIP file wise, compressed file wise, and even the tracking part, everything. So lot of deeper insights we can try to make use of by using Azure integrations part. So how we are going to get it configured? So for that, first of all, we need to have a dedicated workspace as a set. So here, whenever if we want to start with the Azure integration, while creating the workspace itself in the workspace settings part, it's just an additional info other than the deployment pipeline. So if you're observing here, right, Git integration, you have to configure with this Azure DevOps integration with that particular CI/CD pipeline, so that that particular branch we can sync it up, main branch where the all new changes are main folder. So it will be get synced up, and even we can try to observe the task whether it is a sync or not as a separate field here, task field. If it is sync means sync, or else maybe if you want to redeploy from this this report or semantic models means we can redeploy it as well. Fine. Any questions? Hope you like it. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to take your questions.
We don't have any questions at the moment, Rajendra. Folks, please feel free to reach out to Rajendra. Let me just drop his social handle also in the chat so that in case if you wish to reach out to him.
Yeah. No
While we are
questions?
waiting for a minute or so, please,
Okay.
in case if you have any question, please feel free to, you can drop your questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are good and we can wrap up the session for today. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rajendra, for hosting this session, and thank you all for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming sessions. Also, we would appreciate your feedback on today's session as it will help us to curate future session. Please scan the QR code and do share your feedback. Today's event ID is 25537. Feel free to use the Learn module link. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.